Eastleigh is a railway centre of some importance, handling a considerable quantity of freight, in addition to being served by cross-country and London-bound passenger services. In this feature, we'll take a look at Eastleigh and the busy former London and South Western Main Line, running north-east through Winchester to Worthing Junction, just to the west of Basingstoke. The variety of the traffic on this route is considerable, with recently introduced EMUs working alongside first-generation diesels. This sequence at Worthing Junction illustrates that variety. A veteran pair of 37s head an engineer's train from Eastleigh, while a Class 159 heads an Exeter to Waterloo train. Both run alongside for a short distance. The quadruple section of line extends from here to Woking and Waterloo. We'll first look at the junctions, stations and passenger workings with film taken in the first week of June 1996. Worthing Junction lies a short distance to the west of the high-rise office blocks of Basingstoke that characterise this booming location. The Southern Railway, with its intensive passenger services, had a tradition of using flyovers. That at Worthing Junction carries the Up Southampton line over the double track to Salisbury. The Wessex Electrics were introduced in 1988 with the extension of the third rail to Weymouth. Today they handle the Waterloo to Bournemouth and Weymouth expresses. Between here and Micheldever there are 3 short tunnels and the summit of the line. A Wessex Electric leaves the last of these and approaches Micheldever station. To the right will be glimpsed the oil terminal, its rail connection now disused. The station building dates from the opening of the line in 1840. Although it's now in private use, while the line has been slewed away to allow faster line speeds. The New Island platform is served by an hourly service worked mostly by 4 Sig slam door stock. Many of these units date from 1967, when steam was finally displaced from the Waterloo to Weymouth line. Winchester retains its extensive former London and South Western station buildings, which saw considerable modernisation and renovation in 1987. Local haulage survives in the form of intercity 47s, working a handful of cross-country trains from Poole to the north. These will work north from Basingstoke to Reading and Banbury. This is the 9 o'clock from Poole to York. There are around 8 cross-country trains running from Poole and Bournemouth to the north each weekday. Of these, 3 are worked by 47s, the remainder by HSTs. Eastleigh Station has changed remarkably little since the end of steam, while its buildings date from the days of the London and South Western Railway. The location is a busy freight centre, while there is a large yard and freight staging area to the north of the station, to the east of the main line to Winchester. To the south of the station, directly under the flight path for a nearby airport, is Eastleigh Works, a traction depot and approach lines, as well as the junction for the line to Fareham. Around 45 freights pass through the station over a 24-hour period each weekday, with considerable variety of motive power. Class 6s make a few appearances, including working a Tuesdays and Fridays only steel train from Hamworth to Cardiff Tidal. This heads north soon after 2 in the afternoon. Like many of the freights, it stops in the station for a crew change. A major traffic flow are the freightliners running to and from Southampton Millbrook and Maritime Freightliner terminals, and various destinations including Crewe, Trafford Park, Ripple Lane, Coatbridge and Leeds. These are booked for Freightliner 47s, but some interesting combinations have recently appeared, including double heading. On this occasion, one of the locos has failed. A number of freights are staged in the yards to the north of the station. The 60 has just left the yard and is working south on a train of liquid petroleum tanks bound for Fursbrook sidings on the former branch to Swanage. It's running exactly on its book time of 8:45. This was until May the 6th a Class 58 diagram. However, an increase in the load and a change of route has meant that 60s are now required. Most freight runs on the main line to Basingstoke. At Shaw Cross, where the quadruple line becomes double for the run to Worting, a Rail Freight 47 works a military defence train from Marchwood to Didcot Yard. This is a daily working, running south early morning and returning north at around 9:30. Another Rail Freight 47 duty is the Cowley to Southampton Docks train of Rover cars for export. The location is Winchester, on the long downhill section from Micheldever to Eastleigh. Freight on this line is dominated by Freightliners. This mid-afternoon train is bound for Coatbridge and will use the cross-country line from Basingstoke to Reading. These tend to run south in the morning, returning north in the afternoon. There is much less traffic on the freight-only line running west from Eastleigh via Chandler's Ford to Romsey. Around 3 59-hauled trains use this line each 24-hour period. This is the late-running Foster Yeoman train comprising empties for Mere Head. It has come from the Fareham line and will take the sharp curve onto the Romsey line. A large number of light engine movements are seen around the station as locos move to and from the depot for refuelling and light maintenance. A pair of 47s engaged on Freightliner duties move to and from the depot. In the station area, one of Eastleigh's 37s passes through to take a train of tanks from the yard. Eastleigh has a number of 37s for departmental use, as well as on the gas and liquid petroleum trains. The class is used on the services from Forley to Plymouth and South Wales, which are often staged and shunted in the North Yards. Our final view of this busy location features a Rail Freight 47 on the Marchwood to Didcot MOD train. Today, Eastleigh and the main line through Winchester to Basingstoke provides a varied range of traffic, with motive power both old and new. The annual East Lancs Diesel Extravaganza took place between the 1st and 9th of June, and, as with previous years, the variety and quantity of motive power in action was phenomenal. We feature all 24 locos, representing 15 classes, that took part in the event. So, sit back and enjoy the sights and sounds of this wonderful diesel fest. opportunity was also taken to double-head classmates. We close with a loco which is usually seen double-heading, but on this occasion the opportunity was taken for a single-headed run. We await with anticipation next year's feast. Our first interlude takes us to the overgrown East Suffolk line at Leiston. 37106 is seen on the 6th of June with the Thursday's only nuclear flask train for Sellafield. Progress down the line is hampered by the need to open and close level crossing gates. The Sheffield Supertram has made the news recently as, despite losing £5 million, it is being offered for sale. We decided to have a look at what is on offer. The system runs from Middlewood and Meadowhall interchange in the north to Herdings Park and Halfway in the south, with all routes converging on Sheffield city centre. The system was officially opened by the Princess Royal in May 1994. Meadowhall interchange is adjacent to Railtrack's Meadowhall station. This allows easy access to the national railway network. The articulated three-car supertrams were built in Düsseldorf, Germany. Each tram can seat 82 people. The track work comes in three different forms: conventional track and ballast, track laid in the roads and shared with motorists, and dedicated paved tramways used principally in the city centre. The system has been criticised for some of the routing, which has resulted in lower than planned passenger loadings. New infrastructure was also built, including the bowstring suspension bridge. The structure crosses this busy road interchange leading into Sheffield city centre. This location is the best for watching the super trams. Gradients on part of the route are as steep as 1 in 12. However, all 8 axles on the trams are powered, so these present little problem. The stations, or tram stops, are clean and bright, and take the form of modern bus stops. Before travelling, tickets must be validated in these yellow machines. This then allows the passenger 90 minutes to complete the journey. A whole array of new signs and signals have also appeared all over Sheffield. The trams are controlled by signals which work in conjunction with the traffic lights in the city centre. The horizontal bar means stop. The vertical bar, go. And the cluster of lights is the equivalent of amber on a traffic light. The 25 super trams are maintained at a single depot based at Nunnery. A 3-road workshop, which includes a wheel lathe and a 6-ton travelling crane, is supplemented by a 6-track stabling yard. The super trams run on 750 volts DC electricity, which is supplied by 12 substations to the overhead lines. Another benefit of light rail systems is that they can negotiate tight curves, such as the triangle at Park Square, which links all 3 major routes. The fact that the system is integrated with other local public transport is praiseworthy, and we wish whoever takes over the running of this excellent network all the best, and maybe more British cities will adopt this efficient mode of transport. Wandsworth Road is a well-known freight hotspot, but how much longer the Class 33 Cromptons will continue to pass through is in doubt. On the 4th of June, 33065 is signal checked as it approaches with an engineer's train for Hoo Junction. The Aberdeen to Inverness line remains in a class of its own, having escaped the rationalisation and introduction of radio signalling that has affected the remainder of the Scottish secondary network. This route was once one of the system of lines serving north-east Scotland. Elgin, Forres and Keith were one of a number of junctions. In fact, Elgin once had 2 stations. This is the former Highland station and remains open to traffic. The station buildings are new, having been rebuilt in the early 1970s. Like most of the stations on the route, it retains semaphores. West Box can be seen in the distance and controls a busy level crossing. The Great North of Scotland station survives alongside. Although the station was closed to passenger traffic in May 1968, the magnificent buildings survive and the track remains in place. This is actually a thriving goods depot, being served by a daily freight. To the west is another former junction at Forres. From here, the former Highland Main Line once diverged south to Aviemore. This lost its passenger services in 1965. In fact, this box once controlled the eastern part of a triangular junction, with the station in the centre. An Aberdeen-bound train leaves the station, the driver having exchanged tokens for the single-track line to Elgin. Forres East is a Highland box erected in 1896, with a lever frame dating from 1967, when the triangular junction was removed and the station remodelled. A manually worked set of gates lead to a goods yard, which still retains its buildings. In fact, the track had remained in situ until recently. A few miles to the west is another remarkable location. Nairn is the only survivor of a once common Highland practice of a station with a box at each end. Either box can control all the movements in the station. Both boxes were erected by the Highland Railway in 1891, with lever frames of the same year. In the distance is West Box, complete with lattice post signals that complete a timeless scene. The railway reached here from Inverness in 1855 and was extended further east in 1857. The station stands as original, retaining both main and secondary buildings. To the east is Keith, a former junction, with the former Great North of Scotland main line diverging to the south. The goods yard and branch platform survive, with the track as far south as Dufton still in place. This may become a preserved line at some stage in the future. Freight into Keith's yard ceased several years ago. The Great Northern Scotland box was erected in 1905 with a lever frame dating from 1969. Like the station at Forres, the passing loop is situated beyond the platforms to the east of the station, which results in some operation difficulties. Further east is Huntly, with its passing loop controlled by a tiny 1890 Great North of Scotland box. As well as the loop, the box handles timber traffic bound for the freight yard alongside the station. Radio-controlled signalling was experimented with in the 1980s. It proved unsuccessful, and the semaphores did not suffer the same fate as the lines to the Carl of Lochaush, Mallaig and Wycombe Thurso. Until the late 1960s, the station had an overall roof. This was once a double-track route. Today, the single line with passing loops is a short section of double track from Inch to Kennismont, a distance of around 3 miles. Inch is another remarkable location with its original buildings in place. Kenneth Mott controls the western end of this double-track section. The box is a real veteran, dating from 1888. The yard remains in place, although freight traffic into the distillery alongside finished many years ago. The station was closed on the 6th of May 1968, and the wooden buildings remain as if in time warp, where the clock stopped almost 3 decades ago. Inside, the closure notice remains in place, containing a long list of doomed stations. Their end reduced North East Scotland's network to a single passenger line. The building has been offered for sale at a nominal price, but so far the cost of its removal and re-erection have proved prohibitive. Despite the ending of Speedlink, freight traffic has survived on the line, with a daily freight departing Aberdeen each morning at 9:30 and passing Kenneth Mont at around 10:45 and returning from Elgin at 5 p.m. This conveys timber for Keith, containers for Elgin and cement for Inverness. Haulage is provided by a Transrail Motherwell-based Class 37, although on this occasion it's double-headed, with the second 37 returning from the far north line. The trains head south from Keith on the long passing loop. Earlier this year saw the 37s terminating at Elgin, with a train beyond being operated by a Class 47 as far as Inverness. This train worked in the morning from Inverness to Elgin, where it connected with the Class 37, then returned soon after midday. Note the freight yard and goods shed still in place, although freight traffic ended many years ago. Today, the Inverness to Aberdeen line, with its semaphores, railway structures and wagon load freight, remains a true line that time forgot. We'll begin where we left off in the last issue, with 37057 and the EWS inspection saloon at Thorn. Being the first painted into the new house colours, the loco has been something of a flagship for the new freight company. Over the weekend of the 25th and 26th of May, the loco was exhibited at Rickmansworth in the company of 86605 and 47219. The latter is seen heading the convoy back to London at South Ruislip, surely the first appearance of a Class 86 on the Chiltern line. The 15th and 16th of June saw the loco exhibited at the open day held at Ipswich. Other locos present included 58042 and 56112, taking a rest from Felixstowe Freightliner duties. But it was EWS who stole the show. The following week, on the 21st of June, Viking partnered the newly painted and named 37051 Merehead for a private charter from Euston to Cranmore. The pair are seen moving the empty stock at the East Somerset station. Class 31s now no longer work the Bridgewater Sellafield nuclear flasks. On the 30th of May, 439 and 468 head the train up the Lickey. Two weeks later, at the same spot, we see the new order. The Bescott 37 is diagrammed for the service, and on this occasion 37116 heads the train. The summer always brings plenty of diesel galas. The Paynton and Dartmouth event on the 25th and 26th of May saw 4 visiting locos from Stewart's Lane. 31407 departs Churchton. A popular visitor was 33109, which is seen heading for Paynton. .074 partners Class 25, D7535 at Goodrington with a 12:15 to Kingswear. The final visitor was 73133, seen winding its way towards Paynton. Moving into Cornwall, the Bodmin Railway held a gala over the same weekend. Class 20, 2166, and an austerity tank provided the entertainment. Also in action was the popular 50 042. The visit of the D&E PG's Hymic D7017 to the Gloucester and Warwickshire line came to an end on the 19th of May. The loco's final run was with Class 31 D5500 and the pair are seen departing Toddington. For the first time since it was preserved, 50149 actually hauled a real freight. On the 19th of June, the loco heads for Bishopsford Yard to pick up ballast for the new diesel shed works. Llangollen held a diesel gala on the 29th and 30th of June. Trains ran over the new extension to Carroll, which is where we see this Class 104 and 108 DMU departing towards Glendiffry. One of the highlights was 25313 on this breakdown crane. However, star billing went to 55015 Tullia. The Deltic heads for Llangollen at Glyndifrey. The sale of Freightliner hasn't stopped non-Freightliner locos being used. The Saturday Leeds Southampton is still utilising pairs of Iming 37s. On the 6th of July, 225 leads 516 at Nightcote. Due to engineering work, the Friday night, Saturday morning Southampton to Ripple Lane continued to be top and tailed until mid-May. $37,042 passes Egham on the 4th of May. $37,800 brings up the rear. Freight-only Class 37s have also been appearing on a number of passenger duties. Prescott Celebrity 37116 worked the Bristol to Weymouth services on the 24th and 26th of June. On the 25th, the loco was used on this special charter from Bristol to Weymouth. On the 30th of June, 37141 replaced the more usual 374 on the 1600 Cardiff to Birmingham. The service is seen again as it breasts the Lickey. On the 20th of June, 37046 approaches Leamington Spa with a 1648 Reading to Liverpool. In response to the rail regulator's criticism, RES launched the Charterers Charter on the 27th of June. RES Managing Director Charles Belcher explains how this will benefit rail tour organisers and us, the passengers.
The Charter itself is a document that we have produced in response to requests from both the regulator and the market as a whole in order to lay out how we expect our services to operate, the procedures, the risks, the liability, the charges, and our own promise on service delivery. Areas of interest for most people include timings, where people expect to have their timings at least 2 weeks in advance of the train operation so that they can tell their end customers what time trains stop at stations and so forth, and also for charges. Everyone wants higher, lower charges, and of course we want, as a supplier, higher charges. How do we mix the two together? Well, by improved productivity and reduced costs. A number of areas should show this over the next 6 months. We have the new English, Welsh and Scottish Railway Company. This will improve our areas of efficiency and synergy in train crew, in locomotive hire, and will show an improved rate for the cost itself. We have agreed at final stages a new track access contract subject to the regulator's approval, which overall will be good news for charter operators within the business.
Whilst we await the benefits, we'll take a look at some recent tours. Hertfordshire took a Class 56 to the Paynton Gala and then ran on to Meldon Quarry. 56073 heads the train through Oakhampton. On the 11th of May, the Four Counties Rail Tour produced 33046, seen at Mortimer. Pathfinder utilised 37604 and 611 for the first leg of their Cumbrian coaster from Bristol on the 1st of June. At Crewe, the EPS siphons were replaced by DRS Class 20s, 301, 2 and 3. The tour heads north at Leyland. After leaving Carnforth, the 20s headed towards the Cumbrian coast and their final destination at Workington. On the 19th of June, 73101 traversed the Alton branch with an Ascot special. The reason for this strange detour was to allow enough time to serve lunch. On the 18th of May, 37010 was in charge of an LUL stock movement service and is seen passing Chorley Wood. The failure of Princess Margaret Rose led to this interesting working on the 29th of May. 47732 heads through Clay Cross with the stricken princess bound for Butterley. Unique liveried 47817 has been hard at work startling all and sundry. Here the loco departs Leamington with the 920 Brighton to Edinburgh. .38 made a rare appearance on the Brentford-Appleford bin liner on the 23rd of June. The loco passes through West Drayton with the train, which is almost exclusively Class 60 hauled. On the 18th of June, the mobile track assessment train visited Windsor and Eton Riverside. This resulted in a rare appearance of 73107 and 73129 at this normally loco-free zone. Our final shot shows the first class 56 painted into EWS livery. The loco departs Biggleswade with the Heck Plasmor empties on the 2nd of July.